What's up, dudes? Thanks for tuning in for today's video. There has been a lot of stuff going on, a lot of printing. I have a new product that I'm working on that by the end of the video, once this print is complete, I'll be able to show you. But more importantly, the intake system that I've been developing alongside you guys is now live on GitHub. You can go onto the repository. Link is down in the video's description below. You can go on there, download the files, make changes if you want to request a change that you want to make to the system, or if you just want to see if you can print it and see if it works on your own car. It's all available down below. I am going to give you sort of a brief overview of everything that's been going on lately, and also we're going to go over the project of the intake system and how that's going to move forward throughout this year. If you're totally not interested in this tour, you can skip ahead to where I start talking about the intake system and what's going to happen with that this year, what the project guidelines are, and what kind of goals we want to hit. If you happen to watch the first video I published right after I put this bad boy together, you may remember me saying how I was going to wait until everything was really cleaned up after the partial remodel I did in here. Then I was going to give you guys a tour of all the construction work that I did. Well, I waited too long, and it's far from cleaned up right now, but it is fully functional. And yeah, the big old printer is in service, doing a great job for us. We have some completed prints that we're sending out to customers. We got a huge influx right when we started making these, and the sales have been trickling in lately enough to, you know, keep me busy. But we need a new product. So that's what I am working on right now. That's what these rejected prints are associated with. And yeah, this is the room. I did some painting in here, made a mural for my fallen comrades behind us on this wall here, and stand featured prominently in the center amongst all the other names. Never done illegal graffiti before. This was my first shot at it. It's a little bit amateurish, but yeah, I had a ton of fun shooting a spray can inside my office. So that is what's going on. I have a climate-controlled air conditioner feeding nice, dry, cool air, or in this case, heated air into the office so that we can keep all the plastics and the 3D printer nice and dry while it's in operation. All right, stepping out of the office and into the hallway, you can see how I installed the air conditioner in a bit of an unconventional way. So typically you'd take your condenser system, put it outside so it can, you know, cool itself off out there, but I had a better idea. We already have this hallway cooled off with the swamp cooler. That swamp cooler needs to move a lot of air in order to work properly, and that air has to go right through the window. So I figured, well, that swamp cooler air, it's really cool sometimes. It's as low as 80 degrees, maybe even 65, 70 degrees if there's not too much humidity outside. And the outside air, it can be as high as 100, 110 even. So I figured, why cool the condenser with that 110 degree air when I can cool it with the 70 degree air from the swamp cooler? So this condenser unit pulls air from the hallway, spits it out. That air had to leave anyways. And hopefully it's making this condenser cool off a little bit more efficiently than it was from the factory. I had to take my condenser fan off, modify the bracket, screw it into the front, because otherwise the coils would have been on the inside of the hallway based on, you know, how the air flowed from the factory, and I didn't want that. So made the air flow the opposite direction that it came from, and seems to be working pretty well. What else? Oh, I also tied the air conditioner into the home central air unit, because the home unit, I think, is from the 80s. It's pretty inefficient. The air conditioner is bigger than it needs to be for this space, this amount of space, so I figured I'd put a little bit less load on the house unit by tying it in. So this is a suction vent. It sucks the cold air from the office into the home unit, hopefully giving that a little bit of an easier time cooling the rest of the house off. And then I had to put a intake so that when this is pulling air into it, it's able to equalize that pressure through that vent in the wall. So it all seemed to work pretty well last summer. We'll see how it does this summer. So to finish off our little AC tidbit, That's the condensate line. I had to give a little bit of space on these steps so I could get the line in behind it. Goes out and keeps the office from getting moist. Why do I only have 2 lights on? Been doing a bunch of picking up in here. We got our little drill area, drill bits, lathe. I'm gonna have some lathe bits here. This desk is currently full of junk that has to be removed so that I can fill it with useful things. And then we'll have our little drilling area. We have to still hang a bunch of tools on our pegboards. This stuff has to be sorted out. It was a bit of a disaster in the recent past, but we are getting to the point where it is going to be a well-oiled machine. So these speakers are going to go up on those shelves in the corners so we can have some listening pleasure while we do work out here. This Nissan's for sale. Yeah, this thing is beautiful. Let me show you. I had my buddy Lucas over at Cryo Restorations come over and do some dry ice blasting on this thing, and man, let me tell you, that is some exciting stuff. In fact, I'm going to show you right now, this very moment, a little video montage of that process. So yeah, as you can see, beautiful thing. It is for sale. It's got a salvage title, but it's about the cleanest 240 that you'll find on Marketplace, and it's partially restored. I was planning on fully restoring it and driving it myself, but cash is tight right now and I need it gone. But if someone is interested in buying it and wants the restoration completed, I can still do that because I got a full service operation going on here. So now the moment you have been waiting for, talking about the intake system and the milestones we're going to hit this year. So this is the GitHub repository. If you want to read the summary, you can pause the video, take a look at that, or just go down in the link below and then you can look at all the other stuff that I have uploaded on there. I'm going to skip the summary and go down to the non-negotiables, which are things that we've talked about before if you're up to speed on the other videos I've been publishing. Has to have individual throttle bodies, has to have a plenum so all the air can come in through one area and be easier to tune, and it's going to be a dual runner design. So we're going to have the performance benefit of a low to mid-range RPM manifold and also the benefit of a high RPM manifold. So let's come down to the goals. We are going to do as much additive manufacturing as we can, so it's intended to be fully 3D printable. If there are certain components that just make more sense to CNC, such as, you know, modifications to the throttle linkage or something like that, that just has to be made out of metal, we're going to do that way, whatever's more cost effective basically, but we're going to try to keep it as 3D printable as possible. And we hope for it to be solid state. So we want that broadband performance, that mid-range high RPM performance, but ideally I'm aiming for that to be possible with no moving parts. I don't know if that is possible. If we have to use moving parts, we will, because the broadband performance is a non-negotiable and the solid state's only a goal. That's why I wrote it that way. But if we can, I'd like to put some time and energy into trying to make it a solid state system and still have that benefit of both RPM ranges. So now we're talking about the iteration process. We're only going to test one range at a time. Our first test is going to be a mid-range RPM test with a long runner design. We're going to have multiple different components that are easily taken on and off of the system. We're going to go to the dyno with those things, test different plenum volumes, runner lengths, curve, taper, that sort of thing. We're going to get the best combination of all those different dimensions. Take that data home, analyze that, do another dyno day with the same principle applied with high RPM manifold designs to test out. Then when we have the data from both of those dyno days, then we'll begin making our broadband manifold and try to incorporate all the different things that we learned. Dyno is king, so CFD testing we're going to use as a sniff test, basically. We're not going to take anything too seriously in our static CFD testing. If somehow I'm able to utilize a system that can simulate different components and dimensions of the engine, like the bore and the stroke and the cam profile and the shape of the port and everything like that, that'll be great, but it's still not going to be the data that we trust to tell us, is this a good design or a bad design? That data is all going to come from the dyno. So that's the mentality we're approaching this with. And let's go up here to show you where to find the files. You can try to print yourself, or if you want to contribute to the project, this is where you'll do it. So conventional designs, this is what we're working on right now for our first dyno day. You can go ahead and click that. It takes you into another folder where our first iteration is that I've designed. We're looking at a 5-inch plenum, which is really big, but hey, why not? Let's see how it performs. Long 180, so the runners do a 180 down into the throttle body that goes into the port. It's a straight shot from the throttle body into the port, and then it's a 180 up to the plenum through the runner. And it's fully tapered, so it's got a bigger cross section at the opening than it does at the end of the runner. We're gonna change those parameters. We're gonna try, maybe a 90. We're gonna try a smaller plenum. We're gonna do no taper. We're gonna do combinations. I don't specifically know like which ones to try, which ones to bother with, how much changes to make. So that's what I'm looking to you guys to help me out with. And yeah, we're gonna put a bunch of these together, print out a bunch of different combinations, and take all that stuff to the dyno. If you want to print this stuff yourself, go into, well, if you have SolidWorks, go into the SolidWorks file. That's where you'll find the full system. So if you want to make changes to be able to accommodate a smaller printer, because a few of these things, specifically the frickin' 5-inch plenum, you're not going to be able to print on a small printer. So you can take the step file and try to work with that, or if you have SolidWorks, you can try to modify it to split it into multiple pieces that you can glue together, and try it out for yourself. Let us know how it goes. Yeah, so once we have some suggestions for ways to modify these designs to test out the parameters we want to test at the dyno, all we need to do after that is print this stuff out and schedule a dyno day to go out there. So those were the conventional designs that we're going to use for our first test so that we can develop a finished product. But if you want to mess around with some of this experimental stuff, please go in here to experimental designs and check out some of this. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you each one of these on video so that you don't have to waste time doing it yourself. And if one of them looks interesting to you, either for your intake manifold or if you have another project, I had someone reach out to me that wanted to see how I did a certain feature in the program because they were designing a blower system for basically like a leaf blower type thing, and they wanted to see how I made something. So if you have a different application for any of these shapes, use it and let me know, because I'd be super excited to see how these things are benefiting you. So let's try out, let's see, let's find where all these files are, and I'll show you ram horn version 1. All right, here is our ram horn file. You can see why I named it as so, because it looks like a ram horn. Yeah, that's it. It's that crazy whoop-de-doo triple path craziness that I was working on before. This is sort of what I based the conventional design off of, except I didn't use this extra turn. I just used this 180 shape. But yeah, if you want to mess around with that and see if that works for you, please do. Let's look at a cross section of it. Beep, 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 section view. There we go. Yeah, so it gets like, it goes up and then around and then around and then around and then around. Pretty wild. Let's check out some of the other ones. Snail shell, adequately named, I believe. We have to look at the cross section to see what this one's doing. So let's get our right plane. And it's doing a real similar thing to the other one, except this is solid on the outside and all the paths are internal. So I approached, it's basically the same design, but I used different features to accomplish the same thing. And this is only the shape for one cylinder. So if you want to use it for your car, you'll have to expand it and kind of merge them together somehow. So let's see the next one. What's our next file? Whistleblower. There's a version 1 and a version 2 and a version 3. Let's just go to version 3, see what that looks like. I don't even remember. Oh, this might be snail shell extended. Let's see here. Oh no, this is basically the model that I used in the CFD testing that you saw in a previous video. This is the model I used for that. So if you want to do your own stuff, if you like that design, I didn't put any. I put very minimal features into this model because I never intended for it to be something that I'd print and put on the car. It was just for CFD testing. But if you want to expand on this, be my guest. Boop. Yep, so those are the experimental files. I don't even remember what's in core files. Oh, intake bass and intake horn. Okay, so these are the sketches used to create the port gasket profile, you know, the shape and the distance between the holes and everything. This is the math you need if you want to make a new one from scratch. What would be really useful for this folder is if someone had some data for a 1.6 Miata and wanted to put those sketch files into this core file system. That would be super useful. Actually, we might even make a fresh new repository for a 1.6 system. But that's definitely something that I'd love to do. I just don't have a 1.6 head to measure. So if one of you guys does and you want to measure it and upload the file or send it to me or something like that, and we start a new repository for a 1.6 system, that is something I'd love to do. Okay, can I change this full real time? Let's see, how does this work? I don't know if that's changing full real time. Okay, this video quality looks like poop. Let's get a better camera in on this. So that looks pretty good. There we go. That's the repository. Those are the files. Enjoy. And if you have any suggestions you want to make, I don't know GitHub too well, so I think you would download the file, make the change, and then do a request to upload the new file. I think that's how it's going to work, but we'll figure it out together. And if you just want to download it and print it, put it on your car, please. Or if you have an idea for it that's completely unrelated to Miatas and the shape makes sense for something else that you're doing, let me know, because I'd be super excited to hear about whatever this stuff's being used for. Going forward, let me show you the product that I've been working on lately. So in my racetrack adventures, I was looking for a solution that would keep my cleaning supplies in a more compact space, because with circular spray bottles, you have all that dead space in the middle. Like if you have four, in a cubic configuration, there's dead space around the sides, there's dead space in the middle. And if they were square, you could get them corner to corner and you'd have no wasted space. You can get the same amount of volume of fluid into a smaller space if the spray bottles are square rather than cylindrical. I couldn't find any square spray bottles like just for purchase on Amazon or anywhere that I looked. The only place I found them, I had to buy them in bulk. So I bought them in bulk. I said, you know what? I think people need these. So now I'm selling them. This is the cubic spray bottle holder. It holds 4 spray bottles. Each of these are half a liter in capacity. And I will soon be offering custom label printing services, so you can put your logo on the bottles. It's also possible for us to print the logo right onto the holder itself. If you would like your company logo or your name or anything like that on the holder, possibly on top too if the shape fits. A few different options for what we're going to be able to do. What I'm going to do now is start doing pre-orders for this, because I need to get a gauge for how much demand there's going to be for this product, and if the demand's high enough, I'll be able to increase our production capacity in order to meet that. So there will be a slight delay on the first batch of orders for these, but if you guys like what you see, go ahead and do a pre-order. If a lot of you like them, I'll be able to produce them quicker and get them out to more of you. So that's it for today. Stay tuned for the next video to come out, because I think you guys are really going to like it. I'm launching a new project, something that I've been writing and thinking on for years now, and it's going to be really exciting. This project is not falling by the wayside. I'm mostly finance limited on this, because I can't afford to buy the filament needed to do all the iterations that I need to be able to take those to the dyno for the first dyno test. So in the meantime, while I'm waiting for the resources to come in to be able to push this project forward, I'm going to show you another thing that I've been working on and see what you guys think. So see you in the next one.